I'm Ruth Calland. I'm based in East London and we're in my studio at Hackney Wick. My journey as an artist is an interesting one, and it made me think straight away of the first artists that I used to like when I was at school, and Goya was actually one of the first people I was really drawn to. And when I think about what I'm doing now, and I think about the connection with that, it's about the social engagement, really, about, you know, the socio-political engagement. So his work, you know, depicting the atrocities of war, for example, incredibly moving and engaged. And, you know, I think increasingly my work's become more socially engaged. And so it's sort of thinking about that starting point, but also celebration, enjoyment of colour in particular. Looking back, gender exploration has always been part of my artistic practice in various ways, right back to when I just left college and I did a naked self-portrait as a boy, which, damn it, I've lost. But, you know, it was a very private piece and meant quite a lot to me at the time. I couldn't quite put into words why, but yeah. So that train of thinking, that train of exploration has gone all through my work, in and out. It's not always been at the front, but I'm very pleased that I'm able to think about it again now, not just in relation to myself, but in relation to other people who I want to be an ally to. In terms of my own gender journey, which I can trace back to being a kid that loved climbing trees and, you know, being a real tomboy and really loving when people thought I was a boy. What I don't have is dysphoria. So, you know, I feel very privileged that I don't suffer from that, and I know that people who do, they are the ones trapped in a situation where they are having to block out their reality, their physical reality, because it doesn't fit, and it is so difficult. So I want to use the privilege that I have to draw attention to trans and non-binary people and the bravery that they show, and how they, despite how difficult things are, you know, they come through, and I want to platform them, I want to amplify their voices. The show at 2021 has got elements of two bodies of work in it. So the first body of work is called Vampire Country. It was the transformative effect of the bite of the vampire that was really important. And I started to think about how new experiences and becoming something new can be very frightening, but can be very releasing as well, and how we all, you know, struggle with transformations of many different kinds throughout life, and that sometimes being able to embrace that is really what we need to do. So the way that I think about the new body of work that I'm doing is I'm trying to celebrate people who are gender expansive, who are able to show us, who are able to lead the way, really. How to be authentic, how to reach for something true in yourself, not following the rules. The people that I'm trying to celebrate in these paintings have a sort of practice of living. A lot of them make videos on TikTok, which, like a lot of people, I really got into during lockdown. And so they're people that I admire because they're educating, or they're offering something which is valuable. So, for example, Transcending underlying D is their name on TikTok, does exercise routines for people who have had top surgery. And they're very generous in how they share their own learning and their own vulnerability, and I just think it's really inspiring. So I've taken a still from one of their videos where they're doing a skipping challenge, and so it's a split screen and they're showing day 1 and then day 5, and I noticed after I painted it that they'd become more male. They hadn't just got fitter, they'd actually become more male. And I think that's because I'm also celebrating with them their journey. And I think I particularly am interested in trans men, and it's interesting to me that such a lot of attention goes to trans women. And, you know, there's not that much interest, curiosity. Why do trans men not get very much attention? I mean, perhaps in the times we live in, that's a blessing, I don't know. But I want to celebrate trans men, and so, or non-binary people. So this is Teddy Tinnell, who's works in social care in the States. I actually got that from a newspaper article and blended it with other things. But this is Gyalu, who is non-binary, and they've had top surgery, and they do a lot of education about, you know, how to address somebody, who's got different pronouns to you. During the lockdowns, that was when I really got into TikTok and exploring a lot of communities that I didn't know very much about. One of the first people that I came across that was gender expansive was Jeffrey Marsh, and this is the first painting that I made of Jeffrey, and I was still making my vampire work. So a lot of that work was painted in the hues from the film Nosferatu, which was hand-coloured. So Viridian was a very big colour in that film. So I've painted Jeffrey as if they are kind of in a horror film. They're coming out of a dark landscape, walking towards you, and they're kind of mutating. And I think I was thinking about how much anxiety people have about trans people, about meeting them, or maybe people don't want to meet people that are going to make them feel uncomfortable. So it's such a big problem. And I wanted to address this through my painting. So I did it by taking this sort of anxious image, which I made a few of, and started to introduce brighter colour. And so the pictures became more like the videos that I was seeing, which were celebratory. So Jeffrey is a professional dancer, and they put on lovely dresses and go out into the park, which is such a brave thing to do. Really touched me how brave that was. And so I wanted to start to tune into that courage and that creativity and that joy. And so that's what I went on to do. So this sort of meant that the pictures became more colourful, and so that over there, that's a more colourful picture of Jeffrey in the park. The title for this show, "This is all the treasure we can have or hold," it means a lot to me. So it's from a hymn that, so I'm from Scunthorpe. I was born here and I was at primary school here. And I went to Henderson Avenue Primary School. And one of the things I really enjoyed was singing hymns together. Not for the religiosity, but for the sense of community. So to be with everyone else from the school all singing a song together, I used to find it quite moving. And one of my favourite hymns was about wildflowers, and it was, the lines were, daisies are our silver, buttercups our gold, this is all the treasure we can have or hold. And it goes on and talks about other flowers as well. But the idea that as a child you have a sense of wealth, you have a sense of treasure, because you value the things around you, natural things actually. And the idea that it's important to value what's in front of you and what's given, however humble it might be, and to see it as valuable and treasure it, that I think is a lovely sentiment. And so I thought it fitted very well with this idea of like valuing what might not be valued always in the way that it deserves to be. I hope that when people see this exhibition, they will feel encouraged to be curious and to take delight more in the diversity that we have. Getting away from the idea of nature as what you're given, and in a sort of purist sense of like, you know, the natural body must not be changed or altered, and towards an idea of nature as something that is emergent, you know, that we have a true nature, our authentic self, which we can get closer to through our gender expression and in many other ways. So I've been looking at, you know, historical trans people as well, because I think one of the things that's levelled at the community at the moment is, well, this is a bit of a trend. You know, it's not at all. Just that no fuss was made about it in previous generations. One of the historical figures that I've been looking at is April Ashley, who there's a photo of her on the telephone, and I've put her in a place near where I live called Hollow Ponds. I like this idea of her dissolving and being part of an alchemical process of becoming something else. She went through many changes in her life, although everyone who knew her accepted her for who she was after she transitioned. And she was the first person from the UK to have gender-affirming surgery, the 9th in the world, and very brave thing to do. She went to Morocco, where there was a doctor who was a specialist, and she was an international model as a woman and did very well for herself. Of course, even though, you know, trans people were allowed to live their lives a lot more than they are today, the fact that she was an international model meant that when her story was leaked to the press about her being trans, there was, you know, a public reaction to that. It was juicy rather than scandalous, I think. But it made her life more difficult. But she recovered. She went on to run a restaurant. Peter O'Toole was one of her besties. You know, she was such a glamorous and resilient person, so inspiring. And yeah, she went on to be awarded an MBE by Prince Charles, as he was at the time, for her services to the trans community. That's how uncontroversial it was. You could get an MBE for supporting other trans people. So hopefully we'll be going back to that kind of acknowledgement soon.